And getting over here to the all NBA snub team, we did this last year. You guys loved the idea. And without further ado, we're going to bring it back here and let's get into it. But both these guys are two of the best isolation scorers in the game today. Kyrie Irving is just a wizard with the ball, maybe the best ball handler we've ever seen. Devin Booker, one of the best isolation scorers we've ever seen. He's the next coming of Kobe Bryant. At least that's the vibe you get when you watch him, right? I don't have to sell you guys on how talented and deserving these two guys are for these spots here. But Kyrie Irving just didn't make the list because there's so many talented Western Conference guards that maybe have a better record or a better situation where they get more shot attempts or more counting stats, whatever the case was. Kyrie Irving, to me, for keeping this team afloat. Now, when Luka Doncic was out for a week or two, I just think I want to show him some flowers here, and he's just been such a talented player going under the radar. Kyrie is an all-star snub this year. For Devin Booker, again, I just didn't want to give the Suns two starters for the fact that they've been bad record-wise this season. Regardless, again, both these guys, two great guys, as far well, two great scorers. I don't know them personally, but Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, all-star starters on the snub team is a good way to put it. But then let's move over to the front court. And I know you see one name glaringly popping out at you. Don't take this list too seriously, right? We're going to go through 12 to 20 players, and there's really no lineup restrictions. The starting lineup, I try to have, two guards and some front court players, even a big, right? Off the bench, there's no lineup restrictions, right? We're just going to be naming a bunch of people that deserve to be an all-star snub. For Derek White, this is just a guy that all championship level teams want on their roster. He's the hard work, dirty work guy that just, he's going to sit in the corner but on offense, and he's going to occasionally drop you 15, 20, 30 points on some nights. Some nights be your second best player. Some nights we've seen him be the best player for the Boston Celtics. But then on the defensive end, he's going to take that tough assignment and lock up the opposing team's best player, or at least minimize them. Here is a good way to put it. Zion Williamson, Alperen Sengun. For Zion, of course, he's on one of the scariest teams in basketball in the New Orleans Pelicans. It's always been the same song and dance for the Pelicans. When they're healthy, when they're all together, when they can find a groove. We always talked about the potential of how good this Pelicans team could be. And this year they're healthy and they found that groove. Shout out to Willie Green, by the way. But Zion has been a really, really good basketball player this year. And again, even though he doesn't have a bag at all, I mean, his bag is, I'm going to put my shoulder on you and I'm going to go up with the foot. I'm going to go up with the ball. I'm either going to lay it up or dunk it on you. It's worked. And Zion is having an amazing year, counting stats wise and impact wise. He's also getting a little bit better defensively, even though we want to see him continually to improve, of course. And then Alperen Sengun, he's the leader of this Houston Rockets team, a team that, start the year was really surprising. But of course, Ime Udoka has done two amazingly impactful things for this franchise going forward. One, he changed the identity. This is a defensive team, a top 3, top 5 defensive team. And it's just so rare to find young teams like this buy into a system like that and buy into that end of the floor. So shout out to Ime for changing the identity, changing the culture, but then also finding and identifying the guy for this team going forward. That is Alperen Sengun. And I want to show him some flowers there. I think, no doubt, I was saying it last year, they need to turn the keys over from Jalen Green, and they did that this year. They've had some success, and I think on a one-game basis, nobody wants to see this team in the play-in, even the Los Angeles Lakers. But then we get over to the bench, and it's a little funky when we get to the bench because I want to show so many people their flowers. But for the guards here, is a good way to put it. We can go with Drew Holiday or Jaylen Brown or both if if you want to put them both on the list. This Celtics team just made the perfect acquisitions this offseason, and all of them have played a major part to why this team only has one loss at home, is the number one team in the NBA, is the number one team in the Eastern Conference, and is currently still my title favorite as far as they were in the preseason. And then Jamal Murray, I mean, he missed some time there, but did you guys see him recently? This is a guy that is just, he doesn't need a lot of time to get back in the groove, and he's just been such an amazing counterpart to Nikola Jokic. And this is the exact reason why they are going to be a front runner to go back-to-back in the NBA Finals. For Franz Wagner, I wanted to show some love to him because, look, this Magic team to start the year was so good. And I think Franz Wagner, of course, Paolo gets his flowers, but nobody really shows love to Franz Wagner. He makes all the right plays, and he's just a very fun player to watch. Definitely goes underrated on most nights. But then we go over to the front court, In the reserves, as far as of course, the snub team, we have Victor Wembanyama, Larry Markkinen, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert. For Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, of course, the big man duo there in Minnesota, of course, the number one team in the Western Conference. And shout out to Karl Anthony Towns. He just dropped 62 points, of course, this past Monday. It's just amazing to see that Karl Anthony Towns' 62-point performance kind of got overshadowed because Joel Embiid, well, he had to go out there and drop 70 points, one of the best games ever. Karl Anthony Towns, not too far behind, 62 points. I'm going to show him his flowers. Rudy Gobert is playing at a Defensive Player of the Year caliber. He's back to where he was in Utah, so I want to show him some flowers. Larry Markkinen is on one of the hottest teams in basketball in Utah, and I think just with how they've been playing, that this recent stretch isn't a fluke. It could be how this Utah Jazz is for the remainder of the year. Who knows? Maybe they can sneak into the playoffs. For Victor Wembanyama, it's another thing to have. It's one thing to have expectations, but it's another thing to live up to them. One of my famous sayings on this channel, Victor Wembanyama had all of the expectations coming into the year, and he's blowing them out the water. I think ever since he went on a minute restriction, weirdly enough, he's been a better basketball player. And Coach Popovich, I love to see that he stayed another year, really, just to develop this young man and to put this franchise in a position going forward where they're set up. And I think Victor Wembanyama, of course, is the star player. He's everything that we thought, even more at this point in his rookie year. And the sky's the limit for that young man. Hopefully, he could just stay healthy. But some honorable mentions here that didn't really technically make the list. James Harden, of course, making the move over to Los Angeles has been amazing for them. Russell Westbrook is another guy that fits the mold of a snub, right? A guy that's championship level teams want. And it's kind of crazy to say because a couple years ago, nobody wanted to touch Russell Westbrook with a 10-foot pole. And now he turns out to be one of the most impactful players. Some other guys, Chet Holmgren, of course, might be the glaring name missing off this list. Second best player on one of the best teams, one of the youngest teams in the NBA. Of course, the second seed in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Mikal Bridges, even though that team is having a down year statistically wise as far as getting the wins, Mikal Bridges is still having an individually good year. There's some other guys I'm sure I'm missing, but that is the All-Star Snub team for 2024. Let me know what you think down in the comments about